Hi, I am Max Radico, and I am being phoned by all of my relatives telling me that I was on television. Um, this here's my good buddy Dean Clifford. He's a pretty smart guy. This here is Rob Menard. I interviewed him in 2010. I love him very much. I would give him a big hug if I saw him. He's not my leader. I'm not part of any organization. However, I do accept any accusations that I am part of an organization of any type that I might be associated with upon proof of claim, of course. So just if there's any evidence of it, then surely you can present that, and if it's non-refutable, then of course I'd have to accept it, right? So I'm already in acceptance of anything that I would have to accept. So you just have to prove that I have to. Anyway, this is the National, Finding Freemen. I'm making this video not necessarily for the greater public out there. It's more so for my family who's calling me and talking to me about this stuff, because finally they're going to start asking me the questions. So I'm just going to go through this video, and as I do, I'll stop it and insert what I feel about certain different things. You know, this is just an opinion piece in a way, because I need to respond. I'm simply, this is exactly what that is. This is an accusation of me being, it's actually an information being presented that my face that's being used in this video is in fact part of these Freemen. And there's so many other things that I could get upset about. Maybe I will delve into them. The first thing being the name, finding the Freemen. Like, we need to find them. Like, I'm confused about many different things on here. So this isn't a notice to CBC in any way. This is simply an educational video about what was played on the National tonight on February 29th, the leap year day, of course, of 2012. And it's just after 11:11, and we're going to start watching this.
All of their rules have no power. Adherents call themselves Freemen-on-the-Land. They belong to what some consider to be a harmless fringe movement in Canada, but others argue it may be larger and more worrying than it appears. The group is fairly new, but its numbers are swelling, and some police fear its potential for violence may also be on the rise. Our Adrian Arsenault now with this feature investigation, Finding the Freemen.
Okay, I've just been pulled over.
This is Josh in London. You can watch his videos. They're great. You'll find a lot of information in there. There's no propagation of having to use this information. The idea that it is in any way your information is only if you accept it. The basis and the foundation of all of the idea of sovereignty, etc., whether you are it or you are part of it or you are with it, is subject to all those things. We need to talk about this stuff. It's not philosophy.
For my own protection, I'm filming it. Right now, the officer's going to take a look at my affidavit of truth. I've stated that I'm not driving, I'm traveling.
A Canadian gets pulled over by police but has no intention of handing over his license, registration, or insurance. He doesn't have them, doesn't believe in them.
Because he mentioned travel, which is in the Constitution, that you have the right to travel. Not to mention, if you're not using the SIN card at any time, you may, of course, not be driving, because that would mean that you're actually working in the society, which is the Crown, which is the same society the police are in, which gives them the jurisdiction. So I'm not part of any other society other than the Crown. That legal fiction is still there. It'll never go away.
You don't have a driver's license, correct? And no insurance, correct? Do you have insurance? No.
It's written in all capital letters. So that's my person. It's not me.
You have your license.
Oh my God, he is investigative detention! Please excuse my friend Gabriel. This is a video that he partook in right here. So you just saw one clip of me in BC speaking to an RCMP, and we spoke to them, and you know, long story short, at the end of the night, we ended up bumping into a tow truck driver who had said that those police officers were very happy to have spoken with us because it was really nice for someone to be telling them how their job actually works because they didn't quite understand. Anyway, this officer right here is Derek from Perth, Ontario. I already have a letter drafted to be sending to his boss, actually the CEO of Perth Police. Um, this gentleman, this has nothing to do with any kind of philosophies or anything like that. I wrote a little note at McDonald's, and this gentleman pulled me over and totally violated my rights, and I will be getting recompense for this simply because I was severely traumatized for no reason, and lawfully he was it investigatively detained me with handcuffs in his car and then released me subsequently. You should please watch the video, the follow-up video, Released for Truth. You can find it on finditherefirst.ca.
And all that on you? Why?
And this isn't just one case.
I just using that as my form of identification to
YouTube is full of these scenes of seemingly nonsense-talking Canadians up to something at traffic stops.
Up to something at traffic stops. Okay, so we've had Josh, we've had Rob Menard skipped in and out of there. We've had myself, Max Radico or Matthew David or whatever, I don't know, and Josh, excuse me, not Josh, but Terry here. They're not going to go in, there's not a lot of videos like she's talking about. There's quite a bit of stuff to look at, but they're just taking a summary here.
The reason I pulled you over, I've never seen your plate before. Is that a registered plate?
Police are concerned and slowly learning the signs. It starts with seeing phony plates. Fake, homemade license plates, almost always including the word free.
They'll say that they have the common law right to travel, and that doesn't require any authorization by any government.
It is authorized by the government under the Constitution.
I first would like to have an understanding from you that I am requesting to not create joinder to this person because I do not believe that that person is me. So I just
That was awesome. Thank you very much for using that clip.
would serve something and I didn't.
They're called Freemen-on-the-Land, and according to members of the movement and security analysts, there may be as many as 30,000 of them in Canada.
Anybody who has called me a free man on the land, please send me $10 because you're not allowed to do that.
Followers of a worldwide anti-government philosophy preached endlessly online.
All of their rules have no power over us.
I haven't filed income taxes or paid income taxes in 17 years now.
Using obscure legalese and old texts, they...
No way. Dean Clifford, George, Mark Savory from the Toronto Truth Seekers. All three fantastic gentlemen. I consider them wonderful friends, and I hope you do too.
genuinely believe cops and courts and governments have no control over them. Watch what happens when a Freeman acts up in a Guelph court.
Sir, I'm looking for a Wilfred Keith Thompson. You are not that. This is sit down, sir. Please remove this gentleman from the courtroom. Oh, you guys are communists.
Catherine, I love you. Great video that you did there in the court. However, I'm sorry. I do see that there was probably some more stuff that happened there, and I'm more than happy to talk to you about it in the public, but that video before was not so great. Catherine, I love you. Great video that you did there in the court. However, I'm sorry. I do see that there was probably some more stuff that happened there, and I'm more than happy to talk to you about it in the public, but that video before was not so great. Anyway, this is the video of where Josh is yelling at the police officers here, and it's simply because Terry is inside. So you're dealing with, all these videos are from the same sort of stuff that's going on one time in London, which I covered quite a bit through Grasshopper Media, and all of it happened around the same time. So it's not really this big Canada-wide problem. I don't know why it's on the National.
Communist China. That's what you guys are acting like right now.
All part of a script Freemen follow worldwide, what they believe is a formula for avoiding taxes, mortgages.
Let's fix this skip here.
Evidencing our ownership in Canada.
So this works.
Engaging in travel, you're going from point A to point.
This movement seems to attract more script. Freemen follow worldwide what they believe is a formula for avoiding taxes, mortgages, utility bills.
Fines and summons. Property can be seized.
The man some consider a leader of the Freeman movement, Robert Menard.
They've hijacked the country, the banking system, and the courts and the justice system, and we have to do something about it.
The warmongers use our money.
Confident man. This movement seems to attract more followers the worse the economy becomes. Some think it offers a way out. Script. Freemen follow worldwide what they believe is a formula for avoiding followers the worse the economy becomes. Some think it offers a way out of financial despair.
This is our boy Dan Dix on the side there, filming the entire interview. So you can watch the entire interview on pressfortruth.ca. He's a wonderful man. Thank you very much for doing us the service of filming the entire interview, as I did with Richard Gage in Montreal, to show how CBC does just simply clip out and put in whatever it is that they want in order to formulate the plot of whatever story it is that they were assigned to do.
Don't pay income tax. I have no obligation to pay income tax. And what most people fail to realize is when you work and you get paid a wage, that's not even really income.
And licensing cars? Apparently unnecessary too.
So you're saying you don't need a driver's license?
If all you're doing is engaging in travel, you're going from point A to point B, and you are not engaging in commerce on the highway, that's public roads, it's public highway, and no, you do not need a license to do it.
For the record, for my family there, just, Rob, I don't like your sweater.
Confused yet? It gets worse. Freeman claimed the numbers on your birth certificate correspond with a secret trust account.
No, they don't. Okay, the numbers on the birth certificate don't correspond with a secret account necessarily. I don't know. I don't care, really. The truth of the matter is that the birth certificate is not identification. You're not supposed to use it. It says that you're not supposed to use it. You use it for everything. You used it to get your license. Every time you use your license, it's all being referenced back to that number, okay? Your parents signed their names to a contract, entering you into this world, giving you title. And should you not use that title and instead use a title that the government issued to you, then you are no longer using the title or the legacy from your family. Now you are using the government-issued legal fiction. Okay? It's just that simple. There is no account. When you try and find money, all that sort of stuff, it's all impossible to say at this point. If anybody has any reference to those kind of things, go right ahead and squander them around on the internet, but there's no validity to any of it. So basically, it's just an understanding that this birth certificate right here is not what you're supposed to use.
Learn how to access it, and money or property is yours.
So what does that number correspond to in your mind?
I would be willing to bet that that will correspond with a security, like a stock security, a stock certificate evidencing our ownership in Canada.
So this works?
Yeah, I found it works.
Not so fast. The Department of Finance calls these schemes myths. The RCMP issues internal warnings to officers about Freemen. Courts train on handling Freeman outbursts, but somehow believers still sign up.
That memo was issued during the time of Farmer George's indictment up in Owen Sound, Ontario. Fantastic timing on that memo coming out. Also, there was affidavits put forward at that same time saying that many people were actually considered freemen on the land, and George actually was arrested under the premise that he was associated with the Freemen on the Land. Not arrested for that reason, but that was definitely one of the notes on the file.
John Morhunas certainly did. His interest started when, strapped for cash, he heard friends talking about Freeman. Then he did a little online research. The smooth-talking Menard hooked him, he said, completely and catastrophically.
I've suffered greatly, my family has, because we bought into this.
I wonder if Grasshopper Media will be granted an interview with this guy. I will be contacting him very shortly.
But in the beginning, he was excited. With encouragement of Freeman, he and his fiancée believed they'd found a way to take this empty North Bay house and move into it. As persistently advised, they put a notice in the paper, filed what Freemen call a claim of right with the police, and thought the house would be theirs. No need to pay.
He didn't inform the Department of Agriculture or anything that would really make any sense, and a claim of right really has no bearing on land unless you're filing that claim of right with the Department of Agriculture. The Crown basically needs to know. It's just, you got to think about what you're doing. You don't just do what they tell you to do. Whoever it is that tells you to do it is they're just telling you what to do. So this guy, poor guy, don't get pushed into doing anything. If anybody's pushing you, you shouldn't be listening.
Smart guy. How did you fall for that?
Fall. Didn't stand.
Over time, things start sounding good. It's a gradual process. It's drilled into the people that watch these videos the same way. Repetition, repetition. It's basic brainwashing.
It's a slow process.
And it was too good to be true. Days after squatting in the house, police pounced. The Freeman formula for success did not work. They were charged, jailed, and embarrassed.
Because the bank had already filed all of the appropriate notice, and all he had done is posted a notice on the door.
How dare they do this to me? Not the police, but the Freemen. How dare they take my life from me because it was them. And they're convincing, and they're prodding, and they're pushing.
A hard lesson learned, but really just the beginning of the Canadian cautions, because there are dimensions to this movement that go far beyond the need for a new warning of fresh scams.
The Freeman movement may seem new in Canada, but travel south to the United States and you'll find that it's been building for a very long time. Here, the Freemen are known as sovereigns. It's economic despair that fuels their fury, and that rage here has turned murderous.
For decades, sovereigns, livid with government, have targeted official buildings.
I'm sorry. That was Oklahoma bombing. Okay? That guy wasn't a free man on the land or anything like that, or a sovereign. Yeah, sure, maybe he was anti-government. I'd say. Plus, there's also so many weird things about that. Not to mention, you should look into it. William Cooper met with him just the day before it happened. He came to his house with somebody else, and this somebody else seemed to be the guy who was doing it. Anyway, I think this is Rosewood?
Release anyone with authority. Timothy McVeigh, who helped blow up the Oklahoma Federal Building, was a sovereign citizen.
Sure.
So was Joe Stack, who flew.
He was also a truther, apparently. So is it all smart people? I'm not saying he's smart. I'm not saying he's good. I'm not saying what he did was right. If somebody writes down some stuff like that, all of a sudden anybody who thinks the same way is what's going on here? Thought police?
Was plane into an IRS building in Texas. More frequent have been shootings. At least a dozen officers have been killed by sovereigns. Nearly 19 hurt in shootouts with sovereigns and other anti-government extremists since 2009.
And anti-government extremists.
In a corner of economically pained Missouri, J.J. McNabb and Bob Poder.
But driving around with an AK-47 was normal for them.
Was it really?
Americans who've made it their mission to track sovereign citizens.
You can't tell me that's not staged. Talking about the AK-47.
A lot of what they say is what a lot of Americans believe. I think we are overtaxed, and I think the government has too much control of our life. But I don't take it to that extreme to want to kill innocent police officers.
Or your own son, and I'm accusing you of that.
Just doing their job on the street.
Hello, 1-1,
Bob Poder, once an Arkansas police chief, has a good reason for his curiosity about sovereigns.
Look at this video camera. Why is it so zoomed in? Pretty good shots, eh?
May 20th, 2010. A traffic stop in West Memphis, Arkansas. two of his officers pull over a vehicle with the ubiquitous phony plates. The driver, Jerry Kane, hands the first officer, Bill Evans, an odd stack of documents, as freemen and sovereigns do.
Conveniently reading it right in front of the camera. Now he's about to step away and wonder what he might be talking to this young boy's father about.
Officer Evans signals for his partner to help.
It's
Again,
off camera. Bill has Jerry Kane, the father, in the back talking with him. Brandon is focused on the paperwork, and a 16-year-old kid gets out with an AK-47. Joe Kane shoots Bill Evans 11 times. He falls in a ditch. As Brandon
11 times.
takes cover behind his car, the hood of his car, the kid shoots over the hood of the car. The bullets ricochet and caught him on the chin and takes the back of his head off. And he's thrown.
Don't cry.
Back on the pavement.
Yes, I'm directly saying that this man is affiliated or is acting with some other organization of some sort that killed his son. Maybe he is unaware, maybe he is an advocate, but either way, this is a completely staged scene. These officers were meant to be killed, and they were not killed necessarily by that young boy with the AK-47. This is JFK meets 9/11.
As Chief Hodard hears officers are down, he races to the scene. Moments later, that's him in the white shirt, first seeing Bill Evans in the ditch, then being warned not to go further, because the second officer, dead on the pavement, is his son, Brandon Hodard.
I stood over him in disbelief. And I knew that I had some decisions to make as a chief and as a father. And I did not know what to do at that point.
Instead, he created the Southern Poverty Law Center so that all of this information is going worldwide at an incredible rate. Thank you for all the publicity. I hope people do their research and don't just believe what they see on the mainstream news.
My entire life changed forever the second I saw him. Jerry and Joe Kane were finally stopped for good after they killed my son in this parking that day.
Jerry and Joe Kane were killed in a shootout with police just a few hours later. Bob Hodard now repeats this story in excruciating detail to police forces all across the United States and Canada. This is the cautionary tale. But some Canadian cops still wonder if it could ever get that bad with Canadian freemen. An undercover cop from Guelph, Ontario, who's met more than a few, been burdened by their bizarre paperwork, thinks the annoyance might end there.
The level of violence is not the same, but the Freemen have been identified as being more left of center, far more liberal than the militia and whatnot that you see down in the States.
Different cultures, certainly different gun cultures, but will that blunt the force?
Canada has to be aware of what's happening.
JJ McNabb doesn't think so. She's a tax fraud investigator who often infiltrates online both Freeman and sovereign groups. Then she coaches cops on what to watch for.
There are no borders. When I go online and I watch people interact between Canada and the United States, people don't differentiate. They use whatever they think will get them what they want.
Just like everybody else, including the government.
She sees more parallels than language. Sovereigns are notorious for getting back at officials they don't like with a barrage of lawsuits, liens filed against their houses, what the FBI calls paper terrorism. She says Freemen do it too, and she warns there's a dangerous next step.
Now they're into these small acts of basically, saying go away to the government, which is driver's license, which is car registration, maybe it's property taxes. When those don't work, acts of violence are the next.
What meant?
Anybody who gets rid of all their stuff for their birth certificate and legal fiction, it doesn't mean you're being confrontational. Like, what's the difference? You can opt out, but there's no sense in necessarily doing so. And what that redhead just said about it escalating is redonkulous.
He may not realize is that there has already been some Freeman violence in this country. May 2006.
This story, Rodney King, this poor man, they would have killed him.
15-hour standoff with police in a home in Jasper, Ontario. Rodney King, a Freeman who'd fought against authorities, shot and wounded a police officer. In the house, a cache of weapons. A one-off or warning of what's to come? McNabb says online chatter is increasingly aggressive. She's starting to record cases of Canadian police being assaulted and judges threatened.
So all of that
Birkenhead
sounds like an escalation. It does. Yes.
So on a CK1.
And look at what she and Bob Hodert say are signs of Freeman testing their limits.
537 Papa Hotel Fox.
I want an iPad just like that. This video is hilarious. Please. Whatever, just watch the whole video.
Another traffic stop, May 2010, British Columbia.
The officer
driver
really
doesn't
doesn't know
wait
what's
for
going
the
on.
cop. Seems to want to reach for something.
Whoa!
What worries you here?
Well, him getting an AK-47 or some weapon out.
How you doing?
What? You're not in uniform. You're not a peace officer. This is common law jurisdiction. You're interrupting my right to travel.
Thankfully, there's no gun.
Blocking my vehicle. Don't touch me.
You're being charged with refusal.
But there is a good 15 minutes of arguing.
Of bullying by the cop.
I'm only cooperating under protest and duress.
Deep into the tape, a scuffle, and finally a call for backup.
Ow!
Take him back. He's not going anywhere.
Okay.
Consider yourself warned, Canada, is Hodert's thought.
What stands in my mind over everything watching this video is how the movement has progressed in Canada. And some Canadians don't think it's that bad, that it's not a threat. That is a threat.
You're a threat.
Is this?
Guns.
What is a free man? Well, first, before you understand what a free man is, you have to understand what your birth certificate is.
What about the stories Freemen seem fond of telling? Robert Menard has one, a tale of a hunter approached by a parks warden because he didn't have a license for his gun.
There was a hunter. He was out hunting for sustenance. A conservation officer came by, asked him for a license. He said, I don't have one. He said, I'm taking your gun. But he said, that's okay. I got 12 more at home. Conservation officer says, well, every time I see you, I'm going to take your firearm. But he said, that'll work until you get the last one. Then you're only taking bullets.
I don't know if anybody really realizes it, but Rob is a professional comedian, and he is really good at what he does. He is really good at talking, and he's funny. Love him.
Just a story, interpret it as you wish, he says. But some things need explaining. A letter Menard once sent to a police officer who pulled him over. He will pay dearly, he wrote. Just a figure of speech, he says, but what about
Here's
this?
one thing, but you can be lawfully shot and killed. Is that not threatening a cop?
If just because a cop is wearing a uniform doesn't mean they are incapable of breaking the law or engaging in actions which are clearly threatening to our very way of life. What I am doing here is giving them warning that this is what could happen if they don't actively learn the law better and start operating within their mandates.
Our, as in everybody, not just Freeman's way of life.
Or rather, within the law as Freemen see it.
No!
The vast majority are peaceful.
Oh, this is the original Tasered Les. Fantastic video. Lovely poem. So happy he gets away. Best video on the internet.
And may not ever act out against anyone. And most are insulted by the suggestion there might be danger ahead. They worry so much about how the movement will be portrayed. Robert Menard had 2 cameramen shooting us, shooting this interview.
Yeah, and the thing is, when the one bad guy who gets a lot of press, and then everyone gets labeled as that. But what you don't see are the hundreds and hundreds of people who haven't done that, who are using, love.
So you're not a dangerous guy?
I'm a sweetheart. Of course I'm not a dangerous guy.
Back in North Bay, the man who considers himself a victim of the Freemen. Once a follower who, like many now, paid with a lost reputation and criminal charges and financial ruin.
And just parked in the middle of the road.
For him, Menard as sweetheart is hard to swallow.
Yeah. Sure. A sweetheart. Affecting people mentally is more dangerous than going up and physically pushing them. And you got a few people saying this is cool, and it'll convince a few others, and it snowballs.
This guy's just simply not taking responsibility for himself.
And where does it end? Bob Podert says his mind leaps to the worst possible scenario, and it scares him.
And that's what also makes him a professional on the subject, is it?
Pay attention, Canada, he urges. Don't dismiss the Freemen as the Americans once did the Sovereigns.
I just hate to see that, as I said, I wish they could learn from our mistakes and see where we are. We have been where Canada is now.
And where he is now, it seems, is utterly driven. A man who will not give up his fight, even though he has already lost. Adrian Arsenault, CBC News, Springfield, Missouri.
Well, Adrian's back in studio tonight. Your report raises a couple of key questions, and we want to get to them in a moment. First, a quick break, then back with more on this story.
All of their rules have no power over us.
Well, back now with Adrian and more on her investigation into the Freeman-on-the-Land. We said that some people are clearly worried about the threat they may pose here in Canada. How worried are police sounding about this?
It's difficult to say. I've spoken with a lot of Freemen over the course of the last little while, particularly with Robert Menard at length.
No free woman?
I am certain that he would emphasize, look, this movement is not the same as the movement in the United States. It's more left-wing here, it's more peaceful, not hostile, maybe doesn't have the same violent potential as the American wing. And there
Why must you put everything in a wing?
are police officers who would agree with that 100%. So it's important not to exaggerate the risk. It's also important to know that, nonetheless, police are doing a lot of training here, as are officers of the court, in how to understand the Freemen, how to recognize this language, this business of I'm not driving, I'm traveling, how to diffuse these encounters so they don't end up in confrontations as best as possible. We know that the U.S. Marshals are spending a lot of time talking with Canadian police. There's a lot of cross-border training because there is a lot of cross-border movement with this philosophy.
And most of it was taught to people by retired police officers.
What are they most concerned about, police?
You get the sense at the moment that what they're really worried about in the present is that perhaps well-meaning Canadians will get so wrapped up that they act out in extreme ways and end up in jail or in a state of financial ruin. There have been serious prosecutions for people who have acted on this and ended up, using it as a tax evasion scheme or squatting on land and ending up with, serious repercussions.
Not doing it properly, right?
So that's a key concern. You'll keep hearing Freemen say, hey, it works. We have great examples of success. And almost every time you'll hear the police say, well, no, you're likely going to get caught and it will likely cost you.
You heard it from Max Radico. The truth works. You just gotta know it.
It's quite a report. Thanks, Adrian.
Certainly was quite a report. Thank you very much. So this has been brought to you by Max Radico from Grasshopper Media. I'm happily using all of this stuff here just like they use my stuff. I know YouTube owns it. CBC can send me a notice saying I'm using their content if they really want to. Anyway, look up Dean Clifford on freemanitoba.ca. He explains it quite well. What else can I say? Grasshoppermedia.ca. Thank you for watching. I know it was excruciating. Please, peace out. Love you very much.